rejection.
Hey everybody, welcome back to True Ambition Fitness. Today, well, I'm going to start a little bit of a new series. Not really, it's just I've had a lot of people on Periscope asking me to do this, and what it is blind guy story time. Okay, so this story that I'm going to be telling this time isn't from me actually when I was blind, but it has happened in my life. And this is the story of the worst week of my life. So you'd think that was me becoming blind, but it's not. If you're curious, go ahead and stay tuned to True Ambition Fitness. Alright, so let's get started on this story of the worst week of my life. So you would think that the worst week of my life is when I lost my eyesight, as I said. But guess what? It wasn't. The worst week of my life is, in fact, roughly about 10 years ago. So back...
I wasn't even born yet.
Yes, you weren't born yet, but that is exactly the reason why. Back then, I was just starting...
Did you have hair back then?
Yes, I had hair. See, it was 10 years ago, and thanks for reminding me that I don't have hair. But here's the thing. Back then, things were great. I was a 16-year-old boy full of testosterone, ready to take on the world. In fact, I was dating this beautiful, beautiful young girl who is now my wife. But at the time, she broke up with me. Well, actually, I broke up with her. It's a little confusing. We're not going to get into that detail. But during this worst week of my life, it started out with the breakup of me and my wife, well, current wife. We broke up, and it was a very, very sad moment for me. And also during this time, I had her twin sister's boyfriend living with me. And he was, well, not the best guy in the world, but I had him living with me because he wanted to save up some money to go live, or at least go see my wife, who actually lived in California. And it wasn't my wife that he wanted to see. He wanted to go see her twin sister. Holy cow. Everything's just going crazy all up in here. Okay, so back then, I was 16 years old. Everything was great, besides the fact that I just broke up with my girlfriend. And, well, I caught him in bed with another girl the week before. So he just broke up with her twin sister. So everything was kind of going through the fan, if you know what I mean. My kids are here, can't really say it, but hey, yeah, stuff was going crazy. And that was just the beginning. See, I was going to go to prom with one of my friends in South Dakota because she didn't have a date. She needed a date, so I was like, hey, I'll be your date, just as a friend, just so you have somebody to go with, and that's really about it. She said, okay, well, you need to come up this weekend to get sized for your tux. So Friday, my girlfriend broke up with me. That weekend, I drove to Yankton, South Dakota to go get sized for my tux. And as I was there, I got a phone call from my aunt. She's like, hey, Aaron, guess what? And I'm like, hey, yeah, well, what's going on? She's like, yeah, your house is on fire. Wait, well, it wasn't a house, it was an apartment complex, but I started freaking out because, well, once she told me what the cops had said, that the fire started in my room, I knew at that moment in time I had lost everything. Well, at least all my tangible stuff that I had owned, you know, my boxing bag, my bearded dragon, my tarantula, poor Fuzznuts, may you rest in peace. That was his name. We call him Fuzzy for short. And then Kiko was my bearded dragon. May they both just... Okay, back to the story. So, we found out that it was arson. And the person who had burned it down was that boyfriend I told you about. See, I had kicked him out because he wasn't paying rent. And I'd done it 2 days prior, well, because he tried to check my butt. It didn't work, but he tried. See, he was 18 at the time, so the cops were looking for him. They called there. I got police escorted from South Dakota back to Grand Island, Nebraska, which is about 3 hours. And during that 3-hour trip, it actually only took me about 2 hours to do so. 2 hours and 15 minutes because we were hauling and the cops had the lights on. It was nice. So during this time also, well, I was a little bit mad, you could say. A lot was going on. And that upcoming weekend, I had prom with that girl I told you about prior. And I was like, yes, it's gonna be good, I'm gonna have fun, except for I was going through some rough times. I even had a sprained ankle at the time. So when I went to prom that upcoming weekend, oh, I forgot to tell you guys this part. When I got back to Grand Island, back to my hometown, we had nowhere to live, so we had to find a place to live. We lived in a hotel for about a week, but during that time I had started a new job. And the reason I'd started a new job was because, well, everything was going great, as I said. But I had a whole bunch of brand new clothes. They were on a basket in my bedroom. Well, where do you think he started the fire? Yeah, that's right, inside that basket. So I had no clothes to wear, so then at that time, JCPenney's fired me because I had no clothes to wear to work. I couldn't go to work. And I was pretty angry about it. It really sucked. But then later on that weekend, I had to get there and get to that prom, you know. I was going to be that nice guy and be like, okay, I'll take you. Well, I was going through a rough time. I was kind of depressed, you could say. And, well, I ended up going to the bathroom to actually put some cold water on my ankle because it was sore because we were dancing and stuff, right? Well, when we were there, well, I got a phone call. This phone call I was so psyched about because at that time, I was still trying to contact my birth father because I had never met him. And I was like, yes, I want to meet my dad. I want to, oh yeah, this is great. So I answered the phone and my dad answers it too. Well, he was on the other line, on the other side of the line. Holy cow, there goes the bearded blonde moment. Okay, back to the story. Okay, so as I said, I got a phone call while I was in the restroom putting cold water on my ankle. And he goes, is this Aaron? I'm like, yeah, this is Aaron. What's up? He's like, hey, this is Merlin or whatever the hell his name is. I don't care. The reasoning is because this is exactly what he said. I don't want you to say anything, boy. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say a word. He told me to be quiet. Well, what he ended up saying was, you were a mistake. You were never supposed to happen. I don't want to speak to you. I don't want to know you. I never wanted to even have you. And then he hung up. I was speechless. I did not know what to say. I was so angry. I was sad. I was just, so much anger was in me. I was so young and just all this emotions were going through my body. What do you do when something like that happens? Well, I put my ankle back in the brace that I had and stood back up. And as I was walking out of the restroom, the chick that I was there with, her ex-boyfriend, who she had broke up with 2 weeks prior, that's the reason I went with her, was because, well, she had nobody to go with because he had broke her heart. He comes in and he starts pushing me around and saying, she's mine, you know, you don't have any. And I'm like, you know what, dude, I don't care. She can be yours. Right now, I just don't want to talk to anybody. And he started pushing me around, and then I could smell alcohol in his breath. It's prom, makes some sense, it's a small town, but whatever. But the guy was drunk, and we're all like 16 years old, so I'm just like, you know what, dude, just get away. Leave me alone. And he goes, you know what? At this moment in time, everybody, I need to ask my daughters to leave the room. Go that way, girls.
I'll call you when you come back. Thank you.
I gotta wait for them to shut that door. Boom. Okay, there I heard it. So what ended up happening was the guy was pushing me around, and then he goes, you know what? Screw you, man. Screw you, and fuck you, and fuck your mom, and fuck your dad. Right as soon as he said, fuck your dad, or screw your dad, or I don't know. He said something like that. This rage just built up in me, and I punched him square in the nose. He wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it. Well, blood went everywhere. He was wearing a white tux, and next thing I know, well, he was laying on the floor. Like, he ran back towards the wall, fell down. His friends were like, oh snap. And instead of attacking me, they were worried about their friend, which was the smart thing to do, and he just couldn't stop bleeding. So they ended up taking him home. And I just went on through the night with the girl that I was there with, and I was just so angry. I told her, hey, you know what, when we get home, I'm just going to go to bed. I'm sorry, I'm not going to stay up and party with you guys. I don't want to drink. I want to go to sleep. That's what I did. I woke up in the morning, and I went to start my car. And when I went out there to start my car, well, I noticed the car wouldn't start. I was like, well, what is going on? Well, we looked under the hood, and my belts on my car were cut. So we knew who it was, but I mean, there's really no proof, no anything like that. Everybody knows where this girl that I was staying at her house, where she lived, and well, I knew it was him because the night before I had busted his nose open. And maybe I had it coming, I don't know. It's just, I was just still angry about that. And I got my belts fixed, and the next thing I know, I'm driving home. I'm driving home about 75 on the highway, and I feel this weird da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, what is that? Seriously, what is that? What's going on? My car feels like it's falling apart. And as I think that, my tire flies off. Well, he unscrewed the lug nuts on my wheels, and we didn't know about it. Well, I ended up flipping my car 3 times in a barbed wire fence. Busted up a couple of ribs, and, well, I had my seatbelt on, so I was fine. I had a few cuts and bruises, but hey, you know what? Safety first, right? But I was so sore and mad at the world. I think the only good thing out of this was the fact that when I was in the nurse's office, I had to take a UA, basically. They wanted to check and make sure that I wasn't on drugs. Well, I wasn't on drugs, so I said, okay. But I was strapped to this board, so this really hot nurse had to hold something for me as I went to the restroom. And that was the only good thing out of that story. Okay, so let's continue on with the story. But, well, actually, wait, now that I think about it, that's the end of the story. That was the worst week of my life. My girlfriend broke up with me. My house burned down. I lost my job. My father called to tell me that he wanted nothing to do with me. Never wanted to meet me. Never even wanted to talk to me. And then I flipped my car 3 times in a barbed wire fence. Yeah, that's right. It was painful. This whole week hurt me, tore me up, but it made me stronger. And so that was the worst week of my life.
I never knew that story. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was, girls. I was a young boy, and it was scary. It was. It really was. But the reason I'm telling you guys this story is to show you, well, how to have resilience, how to bounce back from those troubling times. Hopefully I could help you guys a little bit here, and hopefully you liked the story. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button. You know what, everybody? Also, I want to tell you about one other thing. I'm also out there on social media. And if you want to, check me out. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. I Periscope daily. You probably heard about this YouTube channel from Periscope. Thank you for doing so, and thank you for following. I want you guys to go out there and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Be ambitious. I will catch you guys next time.